this presentation, we will look at the education system of Sri Lanka in a different angle. So let's move to the part 2. So the objectives of this video is to present the historical overview of the education system, current education system. I will comprehensively review the current education system, the school education system and its characteristics, different subjects offered at the school level, and the positives and the negatives of the Sri Lankan education system. So, first look at the historical overview of the education system. This is kind of a snapshot you can get. The ancient tradition of learning. In a society where the printing is unknown, the transmission of knowledge was handed down to the generation through word of mouth. It's kind of an oral tradition. So later, the texts were committed to, written in Ola-leaf manuscript. In our language, we call Puskolapota. And these were stored in the libraries and basically the temples. They were great seeds of learning comparable to present-day universities. But basically, they run by the clergy, where religion, philosophy, and the literature were taught. You can see the subjects: religion, philosophy, and the literature. And there are enough historical evidences for having learning centers for Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, where their settlements were established. But the majority of learning centers are the Buddhist learning centers, because the prominent religion is the Buddhism in Sri Lanka even in the ancient times. Unfortunately, the knowledge in technology has not been committed to written and is lost to the future generation. If you think about our ancient build-ups, we had a sound technology. For example, 8th wonder of the world, Sigiriya Rock, and then we have huge tanks, and then huge pagodas. So this shows we had a sound technology. But the problem was the knowledge was not transmitted to the generations. So, however, this education system later influenced by Portuguese, Dutch, and the British, who conquered Sri Lanka. So there was a major influence by these three nations to the Sri Lankan education system. So I can say the current education system is a blend of the ancient system and the aspects of these three nations. So let's look at the current education system in Sri Lanka. So as you can see here, we can identify different stages: the primary education, the middle education, secondary education, vocational education, and the tertiary education. So let's look at the primary education system. So the first 5 years are spent in the primary school. I have to tell, the education is the must till the age 14. The students are not allowed to do a job till 14 years, right? So the first 5 years, let's look at, so they learn the integrated curriculum. So the basic subjects are the mother tongue, maybe Sinhala or Tamil, and the mathematics, and the environmental related activities plus the religion. So these are the basic subjects covered under this integrated curriculum. So basically, these are the mode of delivery, guided play, activity-based learning, and the desk work. So when it comes to grade 1 to 2, it's basically guided play, and then when it comes to 3 to 4, it slightly moves towards activity-based learning and the desk work. When it comes to grade 5, as an initial preparation for the next level, it's basically focused on the desk work. So at the end of this, there is an optional scholarship examination. So if the student if they can pass, they can attend to a superior grade of the school. Now let's look at the middle education, or sometimes they classify it under junior secondary. So from 4 years, grade 6 to 9, the middle school follow to complete the compulsory education phase. So here, from the integrated curriculum, it moves to the subject-based curriculum. The curriculum comprises predetermined academic subjects with little or no choices allowed. So again, learning through simple projects and the practical work are highly encouraged in this phase of the education. So the secondary education, from grade 10 to 11, they prepare secondary school students who wish to attend their GCE, O-level examination. So normally we have 9 to 10 subjects, where around 6 subjects are compulsory and the other subjects students can choose. For example, the aesthetic subjects, they can select from either arts or music or dancing. So as such, some choices have been given to the students. So however, they must continue to another 2 years to complete their A-levels. So this is the requirement to enter into the university. So for broad streams such as science, commerce, arts and technology are there. So from each of these broad areas, students, there are many subjects, the students can select 3 subjects. For example, again, suppose students want to do biological sciences, then the subjects are biology, physics and the chemistry. So as such, students can select 3 subjects of their preference. And apart from this, general English is taught in the advanced level curriculum, and in the exam there's another subject called general knowledge to test their general knowledge about the world. So you can see, so a student, if a student can pass out A-level, he's like a complete package who is suitable to the university education. Then the vocational education. So the state provides a number of vocational and technical training centers and the programs for apprenticeship training too, because some students can go out of the school system at grade 9 and some can go out from the schools at grade 11, some can after the advanced level at grade 13. So therefore, the government provides further training institutes where these students can undergo job-oriented training. And these take place within a system of 7 levels of qualification, of which the 7th level is equivalent to the degree level. Finally, the tertiary education. So there are a variety of tertiary academic institutions where the programs may be followed that range from 1-year certificate through to the doctorates. So the postgraduate courses are also being offered in these tertiary education systems. Today, which students study in independent faculties that include maybe medicine, science, law, education, arts, management, finance, and also the graduate studies, and also extended to the computing. So I can give 2 examples of the world famous universities. University of Peradeniya is well known all over the world, and the University of Colombo are such institute, world famous. So now let's look at the organization of the education system. First, the school system. I will focus on the school system here. So there are about 9,931 government schools and 98 recognized private schools. So in addition, there are 560 Buddhist centers we call pilgrimages of learning and approximately 300 international schools, which prepare the students mainly for the foreign exams. So the school administered by the Central Ministry of Education, we call them national schools, and then there are a set of schools governed by the provincial council, we call them provincial schools. So when it's come to the schools, there are 2 categories, national schools and the provincial schools. So the number of national schools is around 342, and the balance comes under the provincial council. So the government schools are classified by the type depending on the terminal grade of the school and the complexity of the courses offered. Now let's look at what are these different grades. So under the classification, there are 3 types majorly, type 1, type 2 and the type 3. Type 1 we can further classify as AB, C. So 1 AB means 180 schools, which means have classes up to GCE advanced level, which means grade 13, in all subjects and streams. It can be science, arts and commerce, with or without private section. Private section means from grade 1 to 5. Some schools they have the grades only starting from grade 6. So it's not a method, but they can classify it under the type 1, AD. Then when it comes to C type, what C type means, the schools which have classes up to, again, GCA advanced level, in arts and commerce streams, only arts and commerce, not the science subjects. So it has only art and commerce stream. So again, it can be with or without private section. Then let's move to type 2. What is type 2 here? The schools which have classes up to GCE O level only, which means up to grade 11 only, up to the middle section only. Then the type 3 is the most basic one. The schools which are primary schools and terminate at grade 5, while in few places they can go up to grade 8. So when it comes to some remote places in Sri Lanka, so you can find these type 3 schools. Still, they play a key role in the education system of Sri Lanka, where the facilities, the infrastructure is minimum. These schools play a major role in the Sri Lankan education system. So let's now briefly look at what are the major characteristics of the Sri Lankan education system. Here are targeting the school education system. The first one, curriculum development, textbooks, examinations, education subsidy, non-formal education, and there are type of special education programs, and the career guidance and the counseling. Now let's look at briefly about each of these aspects, because I think it's really important to understand deeply about the Sri Lankan education system. First one, the curriculum development. So the Sri Lankan schools follow the national curriculum developed by the National Institute of Education. So how the curriculum is developed? So the NIE, they develop this with the assistance of experts in the field. They get the assistance of the university professors and the other consultants with maybe from the industries, and also the teachers who practice in the curriculum development. So curriculums are developed as a result of a teamwork which comprises of NIE representatives, teachers, and the expertise from the universities and the industries. So according to the National Curriculum Policy, the curriculum cycle is 8 years. After 8 years, what they have to do? They have to look at the curriculum and again have to revise it to make it align with the changing world. So at the end of each cycle, which means after 8 years, if the amendments are there, they will propose the amendments and then implement them. So in the implementation phase, again they do some extensive awareness programs where the teachers are trained for each one of these amendments. So that is how the curriculum development and the revisions are being taking place in Sri Lankan education system. Then the textbooks. As I told you in the first part, Sri Lankan education is free education. So the textbooks, printed books, are provided free of charge to the students. So the government provides free textbooks to all children up to grade 11. And then the Department of Education publication, this is the authority, this is the institute responsible to publish these books. Again, the books are prepared by getting the different ideas from the teachers and also from the expertise. Books are written by expert committees, drawn from the university academies and the practicing teachers and the NIE subject specialist. So the textbooks, it try to cover each and every aspect regarding each and every aspects of the curriculum. Then when it comes to conducting the exam, we have a separate institution for that one. It comes under Education Ministry, that is the Department of Education, comes under the Ministry of Education. So their responsibility of this department is to certify the educational achievements by using evaluation instruments and the techniques in a way that ensure reliability and the validity of the examinations. So there are three main examinations conducted by this Department of Examination. That is Grade 5 Scholarship Exam, that is at the end of the primary education, and then GCE O-level exam, then GCE A-level examination. Apart from this basic examination, this Department of Examination conduct different exams. For example, suppose certain students want to enter this vocational training institute. Again, the respective exam will be conducted by Department of Examination. So it plays a key role in conducting the examination in the Sri Lankan education system. Then we have education subsidy program. So the government provides a package of welfare services to the pupils in the schools in addition to the free education. This is very important. When it comes to some remote areas, the people are suffering a lot without having these welfare facilities. So the government have taken care of these welfare facilities even. So what are welfare facilities? Free textbooks are given up to grade 11, and then a set of school uniforms given annually. So the students are lucky to have the free uniforms, and the scheme of scholarships which provides financial assistance on the basis of achievement at the grade 5 examination. I told you already, at the end of primary education, at the grade 5 examination is there, when the students pass, they can upgrade their school, maybe from type 3 to 1AB or 1C. So that is how they can upgrade. At the same time, the financial assistance, kind of scholarships are given by the government on the basis of the results of this examination. Then subsidized public transport to children to travel to school is given. They use the government transportation, and subsidized schemes are given to the children. Then the free medical services are given, including dental care, free spectacles for the needy children. And midday meal is also given, which is a nutritious package is given to the student. So you can see the government has taken care of all the welfare facilities of the student. So when the welfare facility is there, the students feel comfortable to do their education in a more free manner. Apart from this, non-formal education is another aspect of the Sri Lankan education system with characteristics. So these programs cater to the needs of out-of-the-school children and adult groups in the community. So some of the main programs conducted: functional literacy centers, then the vocational training centers, community learning centers, and implementation of compulsory education regulations. They play some sort of a different role compared to the school. So non-formal education system is also a basic character in the education system. Now let's look at one of the prominent features of Sri Lankan education, that is the special education. In a community, there can be differently able people, such as visually impaired people can be there, physically disabled people can be there. So when it comes to the education, we should not forget about these kind of people. So in Sri Lankan education system, the provisions have been taken place to ensure that the education is supplied to these differently able people. So, special education programs look after the needs of children with different abilities from normal children. So who are they? Visually impaired, hearing impaired, physically disabled, and the mentally retarded. So all these students have been taken care of well in different institutions where the education is provided in a different way. Then the career guidance and the counseling. So it's not only about the education, but time to time the student may face different problems. So there should be a proper way for counseling. So the education system, they have trained persons who are aware about the child psychology. So when a student faces a problem, they can take the advices of these counselors. So this unit is there in each schools. Then the career guidance, it's not only about the education, but it will show up the path for the students to select their proper career. So students can get advices from these career guidance counselors even to select their proper pathway for the proper pathway for their career. So similar career guidance for the children to identify their aptitudes and the opportunities available in the world of work is essential for the development of the human resources of the country. So I can see this career guidance and the counseling are two essential parts of the Sri Lankan education system. So now let's move. That's the end of the special characteristics of the Sri Lankan education system. Now, the subjects offered at the school level. So what are the subjects? So first we look at the junior secondary stage. So the subjects are the first language, majorly Sinhalese or Tamil. And then the second language is their English. And then there are also second national language, which means for Sinhala, it is the Tamil. For the Tamil people, it is the Sinhala language. So I think this is very good, very important for the harmony of the country. And then the religion. It can be Buddhist, Hindu, Christianity or Islam. And then the mathematics, science are two key subjects in the junior secondary stage. And then the history, and then some subjects related to practical and technical skills, and the aesthetic subjects, life skill, and the civic studies. Then we will see the subjects offered at the GCE O level. So the first language is there again, and the second language is the English, science, maths, then the religion. Similar to this one, is can Buddhist, Hindu, Christianity or Islam, and then the history is also there. Then some optional subjects are offered: languages, humanities, including civics and the geography, and the aesthetic subjects, as I told you earlier, dancing, music or the arts, and then some technical subjects. It varies from the horticulture, agriculture, and some other technical subjects. So the student can select one subject from each of these streams. So they have the choice when it's come to the GCE O level. So when it's come to the advanced level, so this is the exam, which is the prerequisite exam for the entry to the universities. So there are 54 subjects grouped under 4 streams. So students are expected to select 3 subjects in any of these streams. So the streams: science, commerce, arts, technology. Again, I will take an example. If a student want to enter into the medicine stream, so he or she has to follow science stream. He or she should select biology, chemistry, and physics. That is the only window that they can enter to do the medicine as their bachelor's degree. For example, in our degree, it is food science and technology. The window is open for the people who are doing the subjects of biology, physics, and chemistry again. So when we talk about the preference for the subjects, the art subjects are preferred mostly by the students. Maybe because they found it easier, or maybe due to the lack of infrastructure when it's come to the remote area. Somehow, higher percentage of the students they select. There's a tendency to select art subjects for their A levels. Now, with all this background information, let's look at the positives and the negative aspects of the Sri Lankan education. So the first we will talk about the positive aspects. The key element of Sri Lankan education is the free education. As I told you earlier, until the first degree is the free education, supported by different ways by the government. And then even after that, subsidized education system is there. Suppose somebody wants to do higher education, maybe masters, still it is a subsidized education system. Then the vocational training centers for school dropouts, because we know the students can drop out from the schools from grade 9 and also grade 11. For them, we have the vocational training centers. And then, when we talk about the primary education, so you can see 99.4% of male and 99.9% of female have undergone primary education. So it tells you the education, the strength that we have. And the literacy rates, I'm happy to tell you, about 92% of Sri Lankan population is literate. So if you look at the youth literacy rate, it goes beyond 97. So this is the strength we have. I can say this figure is the highest in the Asian population, one of the highest in the Asian countries. So that's kind of the strength we have in the Sri Lankan education system. Now let's briefly look at the negative aspects. So let's look at the negative aspects of the Sri Lankan education system. One of the worst things that I've observed in the Sri Lankan education system, it is too much competitive and rigid, not like in the other societies of the developing countries. So what happens, it is too oriented towards the competition. So what happens, it mostly results in a private tuition. So this also, I have to tell you, this plays a key role in the Sri Lankan education system, though I have not discussed. So what happens, the students has to pay. After the schools, the tuition classes will be held, where they have to pay and undergo the education. So this competition led to private tuition classes. And then the efforts to establish private universities have been blocked. Then what happens, some of the able students miss the chances to enter into the university. So in terms of free education, establishment of private institutions can be seen as a threat, but at the same time, it blocked the entries to some of the able students. They lack of the opportunities to enter the higher educational institutes. We have only few institutions to the higher education. And there are also increased dropout rate at junior high school levels, which is not that good. But this is not a big issue, but still this problem is there. Then low educational attainments of the population. Even though people are getting educated, but when it's come to the achievement, we can say the achievements are less compared to the type of education that they have undergone or the type of training that they have undergone. Then overloaded school curriculum, examination health. So as I told you earlier, it's exam oriented, which may hinder the other abilities of the students. So as I feel, this exam oriented education approach is not that good to develop an overall character. The lack of English language skills. Because what happens when it comes to the higher education, we need English. But the problem is, in most of the schools, the language for the education is the mother tongue. So what happens, some students, they find it difficult to cope up at the first year or second year of the university education. So this is a limitation in the Sri Lankan education system. Okay, the next limitation that I observe is unequal distribution of resources. If you can remember, if you compare the teachers' distribution, when it's in the part 1, in the Western province, there are a higher number of teachers, but when it comes to some other provinces, lesser number of teachers are there. Similarly, other resources were also limited when it comes to some remote areas, so that is a lacking point. Then there's a mismatch between labor market, demand and the supply. So now the government have taken some policy decisions to cater into the labor market and supply the graduates who are catering to the needs of the industry. And then the delay in the admission. So what happens, the students, after completing their advanced level examination, they have to wait for around 1 year, sometimes more than 1 year, to enter into the university. So what happens, this is one of the most useful time in their lifespan. So ultimately they are wasting one of the important times of their lifespan. So this is a key limitation in the Sri Lankan education system. And then the district quota system for university entry. What it means, so when entering into the university, they will look at the scores at the district level. To explain this, I will take this as an example. Suppose somebody from a western province scoring 3As may not get a chance to enter into the university. And somebody from another province having scored 3Bs may get a chance to enter into the university for the same course. So now you can see this is not that good when it comes to when you considering the district quota system. And then the lack of intensives to the teachers. So in Sri Lanka, basically the school teachers, they are a group who are getting a minimum monthly salary. So we have to provide, the government has to provide more salaries to the teachers to get a more outcome from them. So this is some of the negative aspects in the Sri Lankan education system. Okay, so as a conclusion, in this presentation what we have discussed, so first we identify what are the historical evolution of the Sri Lankan education system and how it is affected by the nations conquered Sri Lanka, Portuguese, Dutch and the British. And then we identify what are the levels of the Sri Lankan education system and what are the special characteristics of Sri Lankan education. Finally, we identify the positives and the negatives of the Sri Lankan education system. So I suppose after watching the part 1 and part 2 video of the Sri Lankan education system, you may all get a very good idea about the Sri Lankan education system. So finally, these are some of the references that I used to make up this presentation, both the presentations